Okay, so what we're doing today is in order to show you lovely folks proper concrete examples on what to do when writing your comic script, I have started writing a short comic. So it's going to be between 100, 200 pages, somewhere in there. I'm not sure yet. And as I'm writing, I'm going to show it to Bones, who is very experienced with writing. And he is going to give me advice on how to fix things. He's going to give examples of what to do, what not to do.
She's my example of what not to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to live stream it here. If you would like to read the comic script as it is right now, there's a link in the description. And you can go take a look at it. I'm terrified because I've never had my writing really critiqued. Well, at least not for a long time. So
Yeah.
and not really by Bones.
So the link is for a Google Drive, and we're gonna save the current status of it. So if you're watching like this in the future, you can see it before it gets edited or changed, and then we'll have a running one so you guys can peek in and see if Ursula's actually working on her writing.
Exactly. I'll be writing live sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, what was I gonna say?
Yeah.
Oh, we're also gonna be, once this is complete, I mean, you can take it at any point, but you might want to wait till it's done. And you are totally allowed to use this to like draw a comic to it. We are not going to turn it into anything. Feel free to use it as inspiration.
Yeah,
draw it for practice.
It's public domain.
Public
okay?
domain.
You can take this script and do whatever you want with it.
Exactly.
And I had other points, but yeah. Well, the reason that we're doing this is because I do the critique streams and I critique like other people's writing. But I can't really show you anything because their work is secret, and I don't want to spoil it, so I speak vaguely.
Yes.
And you guys aren't you guys aren't in the know, so
Yeah.
This time we're gonna be in the know. And what's great is that Ursula's like making all the same mistakes as you guys, so yeah.
Don't be me. Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, we're gonna have it on screen, even though I don't refer to it much. Being mean to Ursula, that's what it's called.
Charlie, you are allowed to take the script and make it, but with dogs. It is totally free to remix.
Yeah, like
do
Shakespeare.
Whatever. Exactly, like Shakespeare.
You can do it however you want.
You can make something inspired from it. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Shakespeare with lions. I remember the very first stream I watched of you guys. February 2019. I was still a fetus.
A tiny babe.
I mean, if you were a fetus in 2019, you're still baby.
True.
My scripts are literally perfect.
That's true. Be like Charlie. Strive to be.
Okay,
Choral.
Ursula is scared.
I'm terrified. Currently peeing myself.
She's currently blowing out the mic with her fear.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'll
okay.
move
You
it.
just did one little
Okay.
panicked
Little-
awoo.
Okay.
Well, I'm nervous too because like I'm always so nervous about like critiquing everybody, including Ursula, because I have to be smart.
You have to know things.
Yeah, I have to sound like I know things. Right.
Okay. Do you want me to tell people what this story is about? Have you read it?
Yes, I read it.
Okay.
I read it, so I'll be going over it. So we won't just read it all on stream.
Yeah.
That'd be too much.
You're free to all go through it and read it.
Yes.
Like we said before, in case
Ursula,
anyone missed
tell
it,
me
link down below.
about this. Stop stalling and tell me about it.
All right. So this story, it is a kind of
There's too much music for me.
okay. It's a like middle grade kind of YA story. It's inspired by like a mix of like Digimon and Pokemon and magical girl stories. And it is about my main character Lexi. She's like a middle schooler.
You
She
sound so nervous.
I'm so nervous. I feel like I'm giving a book report. But yeah,
About Lexi.
yes, about this girl named Lexi. She finds a little monster. I keep calling them little monsters. She finds a monster and discovers there's
Pocket-sized monster.
yes, exactly.
Pocket monsters. That's a good name.
That's a really great name. I should use that. Honestly, in my outlines, I keep calling them Lil Mons.
Yeah, well, I saw.
Anyways,
I read it.
you read it.
Well, I guess you say little monsters, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I tried to be as clear as I could in
Oh,
the
wait,
script.
didn't you show the outline too? I could have looked over that.
Oh, you're right. Okay, I'll get that for the next one.
Okay, I'll look over her outline in the next one.
Yes.
Apparently.
Okay, so, yeah, she finds a monster, discovers there's other monsters attacking the city, and goes to stop them. That's the basic plot.
I grabbed the fish again.
Put that away, you
I want
monster.
something squeezy.
Squeezy? I don't know. This one?
Give me the toucan.
The toucan?
Yeah, I want.
Okay.
Okay.
You've mutilated this poor little duck.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I
Okay.
squeeze.
Anyways, yeah, so what I've submitted here is the prologue and the first scene of the first chapter.
And a bit of the second.
Oh yeah, and a little bit of the second. I wanted to get to the inciting incident type thing. I hope it's inciting incident. He'll tell me if I'm incorrect.
Oh, how long is this going to be? Like 100 to 200?
Yes. And currently it's 14 pages.
Okay.
I think Bones currently is checking if I'll be able to write it in 100 pages or whatever. Ursula Mon, that's me. Digital Monsters also sounds good. Someone should use it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. That explains some things.
What? Oh, I'm scared.
So, okay, when you're looking at a script, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like anything, like where does the inciting incident occur in the 3x structure?
It's in the first act?
Yes, it is in the first
I'm
act.
not sure what you're
but
asking here.
Where in the first act is the 3x in the 3x structure? Like how does it go? We have the beginning, middle, and end, right?
Yes.
Let's focus on the beginning. So we have you have like the setup in the beginning.
Mhm.
Like the inciting incident is the end of your first act.
It's the end of the first act?
Isn't it? It's like around the end because you have to do setup and then the inciting incident. If you think of it in, you're making me doubting. Well,
No, you're correct.
yeah. 'Cause
Sorry.
making me doubt myself, but no, it's
sorry.
if you think of it in the 7 points structure, it would be the first kind of pinch, not pinch, the first plot turn.
Okay.
Is the inciting incident. It's when everything gets turned on its head. So you have to set up your status quo first
Oh.
before your inciting incident.
You know what? In that case, I don't think I'm at the inciting incident yet. I think I'm still in the introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah, okay.
Because if I'm correct, the inciting incident is when the character kind of starts, decides to strive for their goal. Like they answer the call to adventure.
It all kind of happens muddled
Yeah.
in there, but like, yeah, like if I guess if you think of like the inciting incident as a single scene, it's not completely at the end. It's closer to the end.
Right.
If you think of it like I kind of think of like the inciting incident sometimes as like both the call to action and the refusal of the call plus the accepting the call, right?
Okay.
Because I guess you could break down. If you guys have any questions and I'm being like confusing, like please ask as well.
Yes.
I want to help you guys learn how to write. But like when you start working on your first act, I guess you can break it into two parts, which would be like the setup part and then like the inciting incident bit, right? Because there's the call to action, refusal of the call, and then, okay, I gotta accept the call to action.
Right.
Could be what you call the inciting incident, or you could just call the like you could just call it the inciting incident as just the call to action, and then kind of put the other stuff in Act 2. But I just lump it all together personally.
Okay.
I've gotten to the point where it's very instinctual.
Tara B says, my character's world is forcibly changed in the first scene, but accepts the call to action at the end of the first act. Does this vibe?
I'd have to see the specific work. However, yes and no. If you're talking about your very first scene is them ending up somewhere, like that's possible. It might not be the best start. It could be a prologue, but because what would be better is if you want to start after that event has happened, that isn't the status quo of your story. The status quo of your story would begin with them already being in a place.
Right.
Right? Like that would no longer be a plot if it happened outside of the story. Starting at the very, very beginning, like it's doable. Like anything's possible. It's just you'll have a difficult time. Yeah, go for the gold. Why is it important to know when the inciting incident is? It gets less important as you write more, but if you don't know how to identify your inciting incident or identify any inciting incidents, then it's very hard to write. You can learn it intuitively if you write enough, but it's way easier to just learn. It's kind of like it's like never doing anatomy studies. Like you have seen people before, right? So you can muddle your way through it, but it's just easier to understand like the structures of things. So it's important to kind of understand the structure of your stories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know how big the first act is?
How big? I actually don't know. Like, what percentage is it out of the full size of your story?
Okay, because like I think it's easy to kind of think that okay, 3x structure, it's divided into thirds.
Yep.
In which case you'd still be kind of completely off if you're starting at page 14.
Right.
14 is definitely not a third of
No.
a third. Definitely not a third of 200 to 100. No, like the middle is a much larger chunk, and often the middle can be kind of separated into two halves, honestly, because there's the first half of the middle before the midpoint, and then there's the half after.
Right.
And in the first half, it's where you're continuing to ask questions and continuing to muddle things. But by the second part, you need to start setting up things to like actually pay off.
Right.
Right? Like they need to start understanding clues a bit.
Right.
But not quite getting it.
Okay.
Yeah. In like an answer plot. I was just checking chat. Right.
Right. So your second act is the largest piece of the pie.
Oh right, I didn't tell you how big
How big should your first act be?
Okay, basically you take those 4 acts and you divide it by that. So
okay.
It's divided in fourths. So
Got
like your
it.
first act is like 1/4 of your story. Like obviously this can be completely different and you can play with this.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this in the hero journey. It's kind of the hero's journey. You can apply it to a lot of things. And I'll probably be able to point at said things in her story. which might be helpful.
Mhm.
But yeah, it would be divided in quarters. So somewhere between 25 and 50 pages would be your
Right.
first act.
Okay, yes, depending on how long it ends up.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
So all of that is me saying that you're going very fast.
I'm going fast? Okay.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, I don't know if the second scene is actually the inciting incident. I'm not sure because I have plans for her to, like, she meets the monster. But I think it'll take a little bit for her to kind of figure out the goal
Right.
that she has
Um
as the main driver for the story.
like that's possible. Okay, I'll start by
Okay.
looking through this. So like your prologue is fine. Like it's very first scene of Madoka Magica. It's like
Yeah.
it's
How could
literally
you
like
tell?
it's literally like the because it's an ice monster, right? It's
Yep.
to set up the fact that there's gonna be crazy stuff happening here,
Exactly.
right? So that's fine, and it's very intriguing. Your first scene is where, um, having read like a lot of people's things for critique, like this is like what I'm kind of talking about, where, so let's go through the scene. So it starts with like Lexi, right, doing kickflips and things, and Brody's not paying attention, but he says he is, and Thomas is being a bum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, does the kickflip, up, up, up. uh, and then they see the kids from the class. And then Thomas is like, you should go say hi. And Brady's like, no. And you know what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, what happens? Like, explain the end.
Okay,
for
so
me. Just like I know it. I just summarize it.
okay, summarize. Yeah, so Lexi's doing kickflips. She's hanging out with her brother. Oh, I thought you were talking about our dog. It's like, okay. Right. Anyways, so yeah, so Lexi's hanging out with her brother. She's doing skateboard tricks. Some kids from her class show up, and her brother's like, "You should go say hi." And her brother's friend is like calls over to them like, "Hey, do you guys want to skateboard with Lexi?" And they don't want to, and Lexi gets all embarrassed. She goes to do more tricks to impress Brody, and she falls and embarrasses herself. And she storms off.
Mhm. So it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Like I feel like most of you I think can read this and like follow it, and I definitely can follow it. Like I'm not confused. It's just a lot. Because like when I'm thinking about this first scene, um like just like think about like how much has been kind of like introduced here, right?
Yep.
Like you're introducing all of the characters.
Yes.
And a bunch of different relationships between the characters. And it's not that it's bad to necessarily have these things going on in the background, but like you have like a lot of I guess it's you kind of have two plots kind of competing for the focus of this scene.
Okay.
Because you have the plot that is about her not fitting in, and you also have this plot about her relationship to her like her brother and her friend, right?
Right.
So you have like these two that are kind of competing for like what the focus of the scene is.
Mhm.
And like I can like at the end of reading this scene, like I can't really tell like what the arc of it is,
Okay.
because it's kind of unrelated,
Okay.
and it happens very fast because you have a lot of information here, and like it's easy information to follow because
Mhm.
it's a lot of tropes that are like easy to follow.
Yes.
However, it's still a lot for like a first scene, and like um one sec. And like thankfully like you're not trying to introduce a bunch of like high tier like fantasy concepts, because like that at that point it also gets super confusing on top of it,
Yes.
but it's still kind of the same issue, right?
Mhm.
Does that kind of make sense? Am I making sense here?
Yes. So I think I see what you're saying. So yeah, I do have the two plots. They're
If
both
you look at the script, it does exactly that.
exactly Doku.
I'm
So
just so happy.
that's
Also, that was Charlie.
oh no, because
Oh,
Doku said that wouldn't it be better to show the monsters ASAP? And that is why I have in the prologue I show a glimpse of there's going to be monsters in this story, and then I go into Lexi and her emotional, normal life stuff.
and I think kind of like what the issue is, like you can always kind of have these things going on,
Mm-hmm.
and especially like later in the story, like the middle, like you can maybe get away with some conflicting things happening throughout a scene, but in the first scene, like you're setting up like the story, like what is it about, right?
Right.
And watch reading that, like I can definitely tell like a large the focus in the middle of it is like her not fitting in anywhere, right?
Yes. Okay. Phew. I got that.
No, like that's definitely
Okay.
clear.
Okay.
But what's not really clear is like um it's hard to tell like what direct like what part of it like matters the most to her, like what what is she up, what's going on in her head about these things, right?
Right.
um
Okay. I
like
can see that.
what is her main focus, because like it kind of bounces over to the kids, right? The
Mm-hmm.
other kids, and like you can show like I can picture how you would show like how she feels about the group of people, but you also don't have like all of your descriptions. Like all of your descriptions that are happening about the panels aren't necessarily going to be shown
True.
in them,
You're
right?
right.
Like you can write things like, "Oh, she feels this way about these characters," but it's like just because you say that in the script doesn't mean it's going to translate into
Uh,
like the actual
how dare.
um finished comic,
You're right.
right? Um, yeah, so like, what is the story gonna focus on more? Is it gonna be more about her and her brother and Brody, or is it gonna be more about her and her relationship with the other kids?
So what I wanted to do is I wanted to be more focused on her with the other kids.
Okay.
Um so yeah, so if I'm understanding what you're saying is I should possibly split this into two or more scenes. And I should start off with her not fitting in with the other kids at school. If
Yeah.
that's her main kind of problem she faces.
Yeah, definitely. Because the way that it's set up now, I would think, like at the very beginning, it's like, okay, this is gonna be about her, Brody, and
Okay.
him,
Right.
Thomas.
Yes.
Thomas.
Thomas, I know.
Thomas.
Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, so the stuff with her brother and Brody, I kind of want I wanted the brother to be kind of like an ally character, kind of.
Yeah.
Like near the end of the story, kind of, you know, kicks her butt and says, like, you need to become better.
Mhm.
And she definitely has problems with her brother that will be throughout the story. But I can see that not being good for the first scene because that's not the focus of her arc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Because you want to, like, I'm trying to think of how it, like, sorry, I punched that.
Gosh.
Like, I guess think about Pokemon, right?
Mhm.
And like, how does Pokemon start? It doesn't really start with him hanging with who's the bounce off character? I guess it would be Misty. Like, Misty doesn't show up immediately, right?
True.
She's not like first seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we like, obviously you have like a whole series and it's a very different kind of structure
Yeah.
than like
Yeah.
a single comic. But it would be good to look at how they do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a really good one would be to look at Tamers, obviously, because
Yes.
you're very much inspired by
That was a big
Yeah.
inspiration.
Tamers being Digimon Tamers.
Yep.
Digimon Season 3. And that one doesn't focus on the parents, even though they end up playing a role in the story,
That is true.
right?
Does this mean we get to rewatch Tamers together?
You're welcome to do that. It's fine.
Okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Or think about Magical Girls, right? It doesn't, like, how does Madoka start? It starts at her house, right?
Yes.
With her mom. But it's not about her and her mom.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because they're talking together.
Right.
I'm trying to remember how it starts.
I
don't know
know.
the exact scene. But like when it first starts, like she's talking to her mom about school,
Yes.
right? Before she runs off with bread in her mouth. Because that is how it starts. But it's not about her and her mom's relationship. So it's not adding like a plot thing.
Right.
Like her mother is more a delivery mechanism for the plot to come
True.
out rather than a plot.
Right. Do you remember what they talk about in that scene? I know she talks to her mom.
I think they talk about maybe a new student showing up.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right.
And then they talk about they pick out the ribbons, which is very like thematic and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about it kind of talks about her and like her character too.
Right.
It's very much building up Madoka as a character rather than her in relation to other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Introducing one supporting character per chapter is good. There's this horror manga or the second chapter focused on the main girl. And the next on the 4 new characters. Everyone talks about Tamers. Yeah, Tamers is good.
It's really good.
It's a kids show, so it takes a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of filler, but like, it's really good.
And when it kicks off, it kicks off. Brock takes a few episodes to materialize. That's true. That's true. I mean, the thing is, like, because this is a shorter comic, I don't know if I'll have like 4 chapters to introduce like the other friends properly.
Yes,
like
but you have like 50 pages.
True.
If we think about Madoka Magica more,
yep.
Like, so we have her talking to her mom. She goes off to school.
Yep.
And then there is a new girl there, right?
Yes.
And that's not really the inciting incident, right? It's more just setting up the story.
Right.
Because Homura shows up. And Homura goes to her and is like, do you value everything in your life? And she's creepy and weird. And we're like, okay.
Okay, lady.
That's not really all right there, buddy. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it, like the entire story, like how it breaks down. But that wouldn't be the inciting incident, right? Like that's just like the kettle is slowly starting to boil.
Right.
And like I think the inciting incident at that point would be like Kyubey, that scene, once Kyubey actually shows up.
Right.
and talks with Madoka and says the plot and is like, do you want to be part of the plot? And Madoka
Yes.
is like, yes, I do. But she doesn't,
Yeah.
because the story's going to continue from there. But she does decide, yes, I'm going to get involved with this.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the similar kind of situation with Tamers, right? Is
Right.
like, I haven't watched it.
I reread a synopsis to remember what happens at the beginning. He finds like a special card and then creates his Digimon. And then I think then they slowly start meeting the other two mains and slowly get into like the fighting other Digimon and stuff.
Okay. My next thing is like, you have a lot of characters.
Okay.
Like Gary Gray.
Yes.
How many of them are gonna be important?
So, her brother's important. Well, like I said, he's gonna be kind of like an ally character. Watch the Beyblade anime? Okay. The brother will be important. The Kayla, the kind of leader of the friend group, is important. The other two are just kind of there.
Right.
They're not gonna be like fleshed out.
Set dressing.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about Brody. I'm conflicted between making him more important or having him just as like a set dressing character.
And then you have monster relationship, right?
Yeah, there's the little monster she meets. And then the mysterious girl is
Yeah, I'd have
important.
to see how it all plays out to see who's actually important, and like that's kind of the joy of writing a first draft, is figuring out who's gonna not work out and will get changed and combined.
Yes.
But I can see it being fine if you're focusing on the one other girl. Yeah.
When is the story set? That is a good question. The kids have cell phones.
It's probably set during your middle school years, because otherwise you're gonna have to research what kids today are up to.
You're right. Oh my god, they're gonna have the little flip phones.
Yeah,
the Nokias. Yes. Okay.
Gonna have charms.
Oh, yes, little charms. Oh my god.
The phone charms. I got radical 90s vibes.
It does.
Yeah, it's got very like early 2000s, 90s vibes. Yeah.
It's heavily inspired by Card Captors, which is very much where I got the grumpy older brother and the main character. Though she's a lot meaner than Sakura. Called the kid Brody. True. Listen.
So like, yeah, like it's usually like the first few episodes that set up the story. So your first few episodes are your first 50 pages.
Yep.
So like the first, like, to becoming magical girl would be page 25 to 50, somewhere in there. And wherever that happens, you'll finally be able to like be like, okay, so this is how long this thing is going to be. Then it's going to get exponentially longer because you add too many things. And you got to keep it like tight. Because 250 pages is still pretty tight. It's like a single graphic novel, right? Yeah. You're writing a single graphic novel here.
It's really hard to keep it in scope.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, because like I think that's kind of where that issue is coming from, is you're referencing all these materials that are TV shows or long-running anime series. So like a lot of like what they add is affected by that, right? Right, like when you're watching something that's meant to be like ongoing, in the case of like in the case of most of them, they're meant, because they're kid shows, they're meant to like continually go.
True.
And honestly, though, because of how they're set up, when you actually look at those shows, they aren't that long if you cut
Yeah.
out the filler,
Yes.
but they're still a lot longer than what you're gonna have.
Yes,
right?
that is true.
So you're gonna have to really prune down things
Okay.
and stay the course.
Okay. Are there any red flags? Like, are there any, I don't know, things I'm bringing up that feel like they're too much?
What do you mean by that?
Like, are you seeing anything where you're like, I don't know, introducing this character will lead to like 7 subplots that you don't have time for? Is there anything that's like striking you like that?
It's not so much that one character is doing it, it's just that you have like 7 subplots like already started in your first thing.
Okay.
And, like, I would liken it, and no one's gonna get this, but like this is kind of like how I started Honey Walls, by starting at the funeral scene instead of building up to it.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
that's where it feels like
Okay.
you're at.
Makes sense.
And even then, I ended up pruning down the funeral scene to be about him and Claire meeting for the first time.
True. Okay.
Even though
makes
more
sense.
stuff does happen in that scene, but that's allowed because it's not the very first scene of the story.
True. Where, yeah, you're right. His status quo has been set up, and yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's past the inciting incident at that point, too.
When they get to the funeral?
Yeah.
Right.
Or is it? So I
Yeah.
either that's the inciting incident or the interaction with Sun. Oh, it's probably the thing with Sundew. It's probably. Yeah, I'm thinking of scenes. The problem is that every scene also has its own like inciting incident and things.
True.
Everything is like granular.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's something too. Speaking of, like, you don't really have a plot in your first scene because it's so many things. Like, it's hard to follow like where the scene is going.
Okay.
Because it starts with her doing a kickflip and she successfully does it. So that's clearly not what this is about.
Yeah.
And it's not really about I don't know what the plot is. There's so many things. It's like, what is this scene about?
Okay. Could you, if I was to rework, okay, let's say I'm gonna create a new first scene. I want to center it around her and like the Kayla,
Oh my God,
the other
God.
kid. Sammy, get out of here.
Can't even see it.
Right. So new first scene. I want to. My point of this scene is to set up Lexi is an outcast at school.
Yep.
What would be a way to set that up? So I'm assuming that like I'd want to set up. It's hard because. Okay, so Lexi, my idea for her kind of flaw, like the thing that gets in the way of her getting her goals. Sammy, get out of here. Is she kind of writes people off. She like rejects other people before they can reject her. So if I make a first scene with her and the other kids at school, would that be my whole objective of the scene? To like show that to the audience? Or is that too much already?
I don't think it's too much necessarily. It just, I guess, like, because I just don't know what your story is.
Mhm.
Because you can have a story that's, like, more about, like, 2 characters, or a story that's more about the 1 character.
Right.
And I guess it kind of depends if it's about Lexi, or if it's about Lexi and other people.
Right.
I can only reference my own things, and even then I don't know where my, like, incidents and stuff are, because I've just done this a lot.
True.
But like, well, yeah, if I think about like Magpie, it doesn't start with Amanda even interacting with people,
True.
right? Because it starts with her trying to leave Pinewood,
Right.
and that's the very first scene.
Mhm.
And then the second scene, we introduce Amanda and how she's not interested, and like the new girl shows up.
Right.
And that's how that is displayed. It's less about introducing Trixie
Right.
and more about introducing Amanda's like relationship with people, and Trixie being like the focus center of that, because she's going to challenge that going forward in the story.
Okay. Okay, so that makes sense. So my idea for Lexi and Kayla, who's the other school chum, I kind of want Kayla to be a bit of an antagonist.
Okay, so she's the antagonist.
Yes.
Okay, antagonists you usually set up later.
Okay.
Like,
Oh dang.
like
Okay.
you can hint at an antagonist, but like talking about like their relationship to each other early on isn't really gonna work, because there's nothing to be antagonized against if nothing has occurred.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because like, what does an antagonist have to do if your hero has no goals?
True.
Right?
Right. If we're just meeting the main character.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Takes a while for like Finch to show up.
True.
Like, I'm not saying they're like completely gone. Like, don't like just. I mean, you can technically introduce your like antagonist later on in the story.
Yeah.
But like, they would still have been doing antagonizing before they even met, and their relationship by proxy has been developed.
Right.
I need the water.
Oh,
I
no.
drank all the water.
Oh, the water. Okay. So then I'm so worried about the opening scene being boring. So like, obviously you don't have to tell me exactly what to do, but what would be an example of like a way to show that Lexi is like an outcast at school?
I don't know. How would you do that? Start with the most boring ways.
The most boring one?
Get those out first. You gotta draw circles fast.
She's in, I don't know, gym class, and they have to pick teams, and she doesn't want to participate. So that feels dumb. It's like it does not connect it to the plot at all.
Haruka Magica starts with her talking to a book. Most of them start with them waking up in the morning.
Yeah, true.
Like, the status quo is boring, right? Like, right?
Ursula was so popular in school. Shut up.
A lot of stories start boring. Lord of the Rings starts with Frodo chillin'.
True.
Just vibing.
Okay.
Like, your story, I think, like, in a want for things to be not boring, you can end up focusing on like making things explode, right?
Right.
And be action.
Yeah.
But like, are you bored by every single scene you read that isn't just action?
No.
Right, like, and you already started with a hook.
True. I do
like,
have
you're
the hook.
past the hook.
Dang it. Okay. Okay.
Like, I think we should, like, Lord of the Rings starts with a party, but how does it, like, what is the very first non-prologue scene?
I don't actually know.
I think, oh, you know what it is?
What?
No, I don't. That's
Oh.
not what it is. I have to rewatch it or reread it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the movie.
Yeah, because that's the one you're most familiar with.
Yeah, I'm most familiar with the movie, and the pacing is very different. It's more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lord of the Rings is a good example of things starting pretty boring, but if it'll only be boring if the scene is bad,
Okay.
right?
But if there's, like, conflict, it'll keep people's attention?
Not even conflict, right? Like, I mean, I guess there'd be like a hook at the end and like a showing of there being tension, but just like setting something up.
Right.
Because like after we see the hook, like we're like, okay, how do we get to this point? Like what happens here? And we're gonna meet the character, and like don't drag it forever, obviously,
Right.
like who is this person?
Okay.
What does she want?
Right. Okay. See, another problem I'm running into is I don't. Well, I mean, I kind of know what she wants. Because like she's gonna have like a big goal after she meets the monster, where
Oh yeah, wizards are never late. Yeah, it's Gandalf showing up, and they just vibe. They just
They
vibe
just
on the
vibe.
on the chart.
They
We
just
kind
so
of meet. We meet Gandalf, and they're just vibing. They're just
True.
talking about the party,
Oh my
much
god.
like Madoka is talking to her mom about like, oh man, there's a new girl showing up.
Okay. Got
Like,
it.
what is the thing that happens
Right.
that is inconsequential but interesting in your story? Like, do they have a group project? Because that's always the one.
That's always the one.
It was like ask Amanda for help,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
With
you're right.
Yeah, ask her for a book.
For a book, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I could do something like that, like a group project.
And she does it solo.
Yep, she decides to do it solo. Okay, that could work.
Like, I can't really think of like what to make interesting for you because I
Yeah.
don't know where you want to go with it.
Exactly. I think that's a problem I run into with like this kind of opening scene where it feels like there's so many directions to go to. Like, how do you pick the one?
Well, that's why it doesn't really matter, and I always tell you guys to just write scene 2, because you're never gonna know what the opening is until you actually finish the story.
Right.
Because inevitably, you don't know what your story is about. Like, even if you outline it, unless you're like a crazy outliner, in which case you probably didn't pick the right scene when you first started outlining.
Right.
Like, that's the wrong beginning to it, you know?
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's a wizard and a party soon. Yeah, but it's boring compared to the rest of it. Like, if you think about the prologue compared to what occurs in the actual beginning of the story,
True.
like you have to say that just chilling on a cart with a wizard is kind of boring compared to saving the world and battles and things.
But it's not boring.
But it's
when
not
you actually
boring.
look at the scene.
Yeah, because they're interesting characters interacting.
True.
Yeah.
Right. There's intrigue.
You know that something good is gonna happen.
True.
You want to get there, but you have to eat your Wheaties.
Ugh, I don't want my Wheaties.
It is smoke weed. Yeah, basically. It is bopping.
But consider wizard.
Wizard isn't inherently interesting. We've
True.
seen a million wizards in stories. Just because there's a wizard in the story, it's like that's kind of where you're getting like where you guys will get hung up. Kind of like action. It's just like nothing is really inherently interesting in that regard. Like wizards can be boring. Like I'm sure you have watched things or read things that wizards did not save it. Dragons did not save it. It was still boring.
True.
Vampires are cool. You can still find Twilight boring because it's not about vampires. It's about a love story, and that's what hooks you.
True. True dat.
And even then, it's boring because we don't start with love stuff going on. Right? We start with smells bad.
That is an iconic scene, though.
It's very
Best
iconic.
scene
That's
ever.
not even the first scene. Like
No.
it's not even like, yeah, it's something else.
Yeah, true.
Twilight was great. Yeah, I'm saying it's great, but I'm saying it's not great because there's vampires.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a hook, and hooks are interesting. but they're not going to save your story.
True. Okay. All right. So for me,
Yeah.
for my next steps, we might be getting ahead of ourselves. It's only 3 o'clock.
No, it's fine. We've been talking for an hour.
For my next steps, would you
I don't want this
recommend?
to be a 2-hour clip.
Okay. Would you recommend that I continue writing and not change the beginning, or should I go and split up that first scene?
Just keep writing.
Keep writing? Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So I'll keep going forward.
Yeah, keep going forward. Yeah. I would say you're allowed to add more to the beginning if you want, but don't delete that one scene. You
Okay.
can add some lead in to that scene if you want to get some word count. But even then, like, I am not gonna be able to see where you're going and give you good advice until we see, like, later on. And
True.
like, honestly, guys, like, I don't think it's a great idea to do what we're doing here right now, where you like critique as you're going. Like, you should just write and
Yes.
Nume. Otherwise,
Totally.
you're gonna get hung up on things.
True. Because, yeah, I don't really want to go back and change the beginning, because I could get halfway through my story and realize that, like, none of the characters I introduced are important, and
Yeah,
actually I need to delete everything.
Oh my god, yes. That's so true, Charlie.
It's true.
If you're writing something that's episodic but also has a plot, cool. That comes down to paying attention to different arcs, because there's like an umbrella over the story, and then you got little umbrellas over top of umbrellas.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, because each episode would have an arc, and then there'd be the episodes inside of an arc, and then those episodes are inside of like larger arcs, and then that's all inside like the big main plot.
Yeah, it's like umbrellas, you know, because I mean, it's like sandwiches too, but like it could be anything, but like
Buckets.
you can't close your big umbrella until you close your little one.
Oh my god, that is a great metaphor.
If you just have a big umbrella and you have little umbrellas, you have to close them in order.
You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So your episodes are little umbrellas underneath your big umbrella.
Right.
Yeah. And then you probably even have arcs, which are even bigger umbrellas than the episodes.
Yes.
But you need to close the little episodes.
Yes.
Close the episode one, and then you close the arc, and then you start a new arc.
Yes.
And then eventually you end the story and you close the big umbrella.
There you go. Story.
You're finally free.
Stories are just umbrellas inside of umbrellas.
I don't know. I'm trying a different metaphor, because we've done sandwiches and we've done code.
True.
I mean, it'll also help next time where you give me the outline.
Outline, right? That'll help you with giving advice
Yeah.
more clearly. Okay.
I was thinking we should pick actually like a different day other than Saturday to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Do another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like I don't think it's gonna be long, and we do.
True. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because we can't do this for 2 hours straight. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say for what I started with scene 2? It's pretty early on, so there isn't much happening yet.
I would say write more before you get to scene 2.
More should happen before scene 2 hits.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tuck in some
What's
things.
gonna happen in scene 2?
So scene 2, to summarize what I have so far, she's sulking and she goes off to the park because she's all embarrassed that people saw her fall. And she sees a little shadow under the playground, and she goes to check it out, and it's a little monster. And it runs off, and she's gonna go chase it. So what I was thinking is that, the problem is part of it is I'm slightly discovery writing what's gonna happen. But she's gonna meet the little monster. She's gonna befriend him,
In
and
the scene?
uh, not right away.
Like,
What?
I feel like you could show the monster at this point, maybe, like, just leave it at the what the heck, and just
Okay.
have that as, like, a little bit of flavor, a little hint, but then have, like, a scene that's about something else that
Okay.
occurs.
You're right.
Like, maybe she sees the monster and bumps into someone at the park, other
Okay.
than that, so you can build up that part.
Okay. All right. That could work.
Like that's possible. Yeah, you can add things as like
Little breadcrumbs.
little breadcrumbs. Yeah, you can put breadcrumbs on things.
Okay. Because I just wanted to jump in. She like brings it home and then has to figure out what the heck it wants and what it is.
Yeah, but we don't know who Lexi is.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know who Lexi is. I don't know how, like, when you think about it, like, what does a monster even have to do with Lexi?
Nothing.
Like what does that even mean for her on a character level of her just stumbling on a monster?
Right.
If we don't really know her. Because, like, yes, she wants, like, friendship, but we haven't really established how much she actually wants that.
Right.
You know? We've had her
Okay.
being a little baka about it and wanting attention.
Mhm.
But, like, you know, be a lot meaner to her.
I can't be mean to my characters.
like if you want her to come across as someone lonely who's like pushed at people away,
Mhm.
like you need to show that so that by the time she actually comes face to face with this monster, she has more reason to be come here, you want to be my friends, like strange
Okay.
little creature. Because at first it's like a freaky monster thing.
True.
Right? Like, why
Okay.
is she hunting it down
'Cause
and
it's
gonna bring it
cute.
home?
It's like when a kid finds like a bug and they put it in a jar and like bring it home.
Because if you think about like Digimon Tamers and Takata, right?
Right.
Like he gets the card, he makes up the Gilmon, he's all about Digimon, he freaking loves it. He's kind of a weird kid, and like you know, I forget why he wants a monster. Like he wants a friend, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants a friend. He's just a weirdo. But like you can tell he really wants this. So when he gets to the section and he sees this feral lizard monster,
right.
like it isn't immediately friendly.
Yep.
He sees a terrifying lizard monster, but we have all the setup and he's had all this setup of really wanting this lizard monster
Mhm.
and having a connection with it,
Mhm.
so that he does like once there is like a spark, you know, between
Right.
them, like he continues to pursue that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they have a relationship and they have a reason to start a relationship. Like there's a catalyst for it, so that it's not just like, oh man, I came to a park and I found a monster, I'm going to just bring it home
Okay.
for no reason.
You have a good point. Okay. So I think
Because like a version of that would be like this wouldn't be your sorry necessarily, but like an example where like you could have someone accidentally do this, or someone who doesn't want to become a Digimon tamer.
Mhm.
Like an example of that would be like they accidentally bring it home, and then what you're building up is their relationship and the idea to keep it around.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
yeah.
Okay.
Because
That's something to consider.
it's a very different character that is trying to get rid of something and decides not to in the end, versus someone who seeks something out to bring it home.
Right. I wonder if that would work better for Lexi's story because she does push people away. That was one thing I was struggling with where I'm like, why would you want to keep this little monster
Yeah.
if she doesn't want anyone ever? Like
Okay, if she has zero self-preservation instincts and just wants to take things home, we still need to set that up.
True.
We still need to set her up as
We
someone who's incompetent and just sees a little monster and is like, oh, you want to come home with me? Like, you need to set her up as the kind of girl who sees cats and is like feeding them, and there's a problem there. Like, you need to set
her
something up.
her room is full
Yeah.
of creatures she's brought home.
Yeah, you
Okay,
need
yeah.
to look at the choices and understand like why would she would make them,
Right.
and go off from there.
Right. Dang, it's all coming together. So I was thinking, um, I was trying to think of other examples of stories where this happens. Did you ever watch Big Hero 6?
Yeah, I don't remember it tons, but
Yeah, I don't remember too much of it, but for some reason I thought right at the beginning he brings home the robot that I don't remember the name of.
oh man, I had it in my brain.
The bubble robot.
Yeah.
But no, I forgot there's the whole setup of like the science fair and like his brother dying and stuff
Yep.
before he gets the robot and brings it home.
Yeah, it's always that case.
You're right. Oh, dang.
Because
Okay.
you can't just immediately start with that. Like, there needs to be an acceptance of the call to action.
Right. Okay. Oh, How to Train Your Dragon is a similar format. I should also look at that.
Yeah.
Because I forget how that one starts before he meets Toothless.
Honestly,
The brother was hot. I mean, you're not wrong.
like, you need to kind of think of it as like a romance, kind of, without the romance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A little platonic.
Yes.
It's the same kind of plot, you know, it's building a relationship.
You're
together.
right. You're right. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So there's one more element that I'm not sure about when to introduce it. So
The kind of girl that brings coyotes home thinking they're dogs. Literally. Yeah, you could just be like, oh, it's a cat, you know, and she takes it home. Not for your story,
No.
like, obviously, but like a different character, like that's
Yes.
totally doable.
that could be doable. Yeah.
But regardless of like what the answer is, like you need like motivation.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so the other element that will be important, but I'm not sure when to introduce it, is that there's the little monster who's like the good guys.
Okay.
And then there's evil monsters that like attack people.
Yeah.
That are the bad guys. Does that need to show up before we meet the good little monster and she starts a relationship with him?
No.
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 It's okay if that shows up after.
That seems like just more stuff. Like, can you imagine like trying to like introduce the idea of just like these little monsters that fight these giant monsters before we even really know monsters?
Okay. You
Like,
make
it's
a good point.
perfectly fine to like explore and learn things,
Okay.
because like that's kind of what you do in the rest of the story, right?
True. Okay. That is good to know because I was like, am I not introducing this fast enough?
You were introducing way too much. Way too
I'm going
fast.
breakneck speed.
Yeah.
Canine faculty is here. Yes. I know, college.
I want to talk college.
Oh, he shoots Toothless and goes to find him to prove he did it. You're right, because it does start with the dragons attacking and scenes of Hiccup not fitting in.
Yeah, so that once he
Right.
sees, you know.
Right. He sees something and hits it. He's all excited. Okay. I should go watch these movies because they're small scale
Yeah.
instead of only looking at these big series.
Yeah,
As
definitely.
inspo.
A movie would probably help you.
Yes.
Like a single movie. They're
'Cause-
kind of similar.
Yeah, similar length to like a single graphic novel type thing.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Thank you guys for telling me to watch DreamWorks and Pixar.
Let's take a shotgun to take Also, Lilo and Stitch. Yep.
Oh, you're right. Oh my god, I want to rewatch that. That's
Iron
such a good
Giant.
movie. Iron Giant, that's a good one.
There's a lot of story. Like, this is literally
This is-
E.T.
Oh my god. You're right.
Like, it is a common story.
It
It's
is.
not just Digimon.
True. True.
And Pokemon's different because
Yeah.
like, he really wants one, and we already know that Pokemon are things. Right?
Yeah.
It's a very different world.
Exactly. It's very, yeah, that one is very like different world setup where this one is very like monsters are hidden from people.
If you think of like a different one, Madoka sees Kyubey and she's like, "Don't murder him with a shotgun. Because she's a kind person. But
You're
that's a bad
right.
decision.
You're right.
She's
That
bringing
is
something
true.
terrible into her life, but it's the same concept.
Right. Oh my god. You're right, and she doesn't like immediately
and then
find
there's,
him.
Sailor Moon with Luna.
How does she meet? How does that
Luna's
start?
like a cat who's got like a band-aid on her little thing.
Yeah.
She takes it off, she
Right, and there's the
talks.
moon, and she
Yeah.
talks.
Yeah.
How does Sailor Moon start? I've seen the first episode a million times, but I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it does start off with showing she's like a lazy bad student and stuff
yeah.
before it gets into the magic stuff.
Yeah.
The first scene is Hiccup narrating The Village is Boring, and we see a dragon kidnapping a sheep. Okay. So yeah, that is setting up the world. Okay. Okay, so it seems like I need to maybe backtrack a little bit, not too much that I'm rewriting everything, and build up time to set things up and introduce Lexi and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think she saves the cat.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think she does save Luna. Which would make sense because it's setting her up as a hero,
Yeah.
despite being like a silly girl.
Stop watching anime, it rots your brain.
Listen.
Sometimes you want a little brain rot.
A little brain rot is okay. In small
Okay,
doses.
so when should we do this again?
That's a good question. Because I'm gonna be...
Because we don't want... Should we change our Thursday streams to this?
We could.
And
those
maybe
are
do
only
a
an hour.
bonus one during the critique.
Okay. Could do that. Do like a... I don't know what day. We could talk about this
Yeah, we'll figure
offline.
it out.
But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this.
Yeah,
And
give
this has
us
been
your
helpful.
feedback if this is helpful or not. If
Yes.
it's completely unhelpful, I'm gonna cry.
Yes, if you are watching this later on, let us know. Or right now, let us know. Is this helpful? Is this...
Was this a good experience for all of you?
Yeah,
Or
are you...
do you want us to just go back to talking about our earwax?
Those are your two choices. Choose now. Your cat's so cute. This is Malthy. She's shy. That's Fado. He's
Slurping in your
handsome.
ears.
Oh, hello. There's Manica.
She's saying hi.
Hi.
Your claws are so nice and trim.
Oh, wait.
You're so soft.